a lot of times when you acquire the language and you hear somebody saying something, it's almost like a celebration. You've learned to use a word that you know in a different way. It just comes to you. It's like an awakening. When you are saying some of the hard words like gaazhooyaak, it surprises you because, oh geez, I didn't even stutter that. With me, like with English, it was like a celebration every day. To learn that. But at the same time, I'm learning Finnish. When my first day of school, I thought I was the only one that didn't know how to speak English because I didn't know about Finn. Half the kids didn't know how to speak English because they were speaking Finn. And when I speak Ojibwe, they thought I was speaking English. And me, I don't know how many times in a day I would hear somebody say something, and I'd say, "Biinhskan," and nobody understood. And finally, by I think it was the second week or so, Biinhskan. I say, well, it's not rocket science, They would get mad at me because it'd be the third time they're saying the same thing. But they knew before I learned the word, they knew what giizhoopizgin meant. The kids that were speaking English. And so from there, like it started to get easier because the kids were getting involved in my language, in my inability to learn English. Just the Finn kids were getting to be more knowledgeable with me. Like I was the only native kid in school, 25 kids in a little red schoolhouse, and I was the only native kid. And there was lots of Finlanders, there was lots of Italians, English, and so forth. And there's about 3 or 4 languages spoken every day at school. And there was one kid that spoke Ojibwe. And so I was having the opportunity to learn about 3 or 4 languages at once. Finn music, the Finn, I acquired it really fast because all the grown-ups and everybody, they took special pains in speaking to me only in Finn. They would just say, "Minä kotia poika." And this kid would run home, boy. That's one of the first words I learned. Supper time, go home, eat. And sometimes I would throw something at somebody and they'd say, "Get your clothes." It all came so naturally. But, like it was only about a month or two, I learned half of the language I know now, I learned. Half of the Finn I know now, I learned tomorrow. And the good thing about all the different people that were going to that school, we weren't looking for reasons to get insulted in those days. We were racist towards one another. The guys called me wagon burner, and I called them, wops. I called them skinlanders. I called them wagon burners back sometimes because they didn't know what they meant really. And some of the kids, I meet them today, we're all old guys, and they'll say, "Well, Lorney, remember that time, And I says, "Yeah." I said, "Remember that time?" I said, "Remember we used to watch TV, In those days, TV used to be all about soldiers attacking a wagon train, and or soldiers defending a wagon train. They put that wagons in a circle, and the Mnobizo would ride round and round and round, shooting arrows at the wagon train. You know, we invented drive-by shooting, eh? It's pretty neat. So that's what we talk about when we get together now, me and the old guys. Yeah, we invented the, you know, and the Italian guys, and we say, yeah, you're not bad. You didn't invent, you know, you didn't invent crime. You just organized it. So we're still pretty heavy with the racist jokes. We don't get insulted because that's how we grew up, real guys. I never ran home and say, well, this guy was picking on me. You know, if I ran home crying, my grandpa would say, I'll give you something to cry about. He didn't protect me. He didn't protect me from learning. You know, he didn't stop me from being out with the kids and everything. It was really neat. Right?
You didn't finish all your food, then you start on the next one.
Yeah,
So then it-
that's right. Yeah, really. But I was the only kid in my family, so
I mean, it might be, but
yeah. No, this sometimes I experience something different. Like I went to other places and kids were fighting over the last potato. And I never had to fight. It's funny because when the other kids came over, they used to hide my toys. So the guys would play with me. If I didn't hide my toys, the kids would play with my toys and ignore me. So you learn pretty fast in your little wee guy. Hide the toys, kids. And I'd hide my toys when the relatives came over, because they'd always take off one or two of my toys when they left. It was really quite neat. But the people were kind of funny because you learn a whole new lifestyle. And again, language just happened. It wasn't, I didn't set out to learn the Ojibwe. I didn't set out to learn English. I thought that as long as I learned how to say I want to go to the bathroom, I'd be okay the rest of my life. Because the first day I went to school, I didn't know how to ask to go to the bathroom. So you can pretty well know what happened to me then. I got chased home because I had to wear pants. Anyway, I hope that gets you away from it has to be an effort that we're doing. It could be a lot of fun. And a part of that's fun is when you your brain announces to you that you're learning something and it's coming to you and you're putting it together. And it's becoming something that you can carry. I was supposed to go through that later on in my life. And learning about being with different races of people. And not going through something like I am now. Nowadays, you know, it's so easy to insult somebody nowadays. You know, sometimes I get upset and I tell the guy, you know, you want to be insulted, why don't you go look in the mirror, please? Well, they usually cause a laugh or somebody gets pretty mad. I know. But that's how I am. Like, I think I'm old enough to get away with it on top of that. You grow up and you have a whole different way of thinking. Because I grew up in a non-native community, I have a whole different way of presenting. I have a whole different way of being in my life. I started a business when I was 29 in home building and renovations. And I advertised my company as owned and operated. And all my people said, you shouldn't do that, Lorney. There's a lot of racism. And I said, well, yeah, but nobody can ever accuse me of, trying to take the easy way out. So Albert, I advertised Anishinaabe owned and operated. And I went above and beyond with all of my job. If somebody did something wrong, I didn't cover up, or cover it up with a little bit of plaster, things like that. I told them to tear it down and start over. And my company got known for that. And it wasn't long before I was had part of the 1,600 units in Sudbury for Sudbury housing to look at. Didn't take very long. I was trusted because I was a new company. I didn't know how to do shortcuts. Because all the other companies were doing shortcuts and doing no half-assed jobs. It was pretty neat. But like, I guess what I'm trying to say is language can give you a whole new way of life, a whole new way of communicating, a whole new way of thinking. And it's only the beginning, like when you start to know the little Ojibwe language. Like I was with a bunch of kids last weekend, and they said, you know, Lorney, the only reason I want to learn Ojibwe is I want to hear what you got. I want to know what you guys are laughing at all the time. You know? You guys see some words in Ojibwe and everybody laughs. I want to know what's so funny. And I say, well, no, at times it's not what's so funny, it's how we say something. It's really funny. I think there's maybe a couple of people here that might know when a dog lies down like it just sprawled out in Wiiwkwaan, Sagamok, and West Bay. They say, "Bama, some of the Moses." You know, do they say that in your community?
Yeah.
Bama, some of the Moses. Yeah. Dog eat too much and everything, they just sprawl right out, lifeless on the ground. Bama, some of the Moses. And it sounds really funny because you're saying that the dog is dead. That's why it's just lying motionlessly. So in Ojibwe, it sounds really funny. Dawa same thing. There's some words and some ways we say things that Dawa and Ojibwe is pretty well basically the same. And especially if a person from a Dawa language speaks it, it sounds different a little bit and it sounds really funny. Or Ojibwe or vice versa. So a lot of times, if I was to be telling jokes to a whole bunch of native people from Sudbury, thousands of them, and I speak in Ojibwe, because I know all of the people are from Adawa or Ojibwe, I'd be a better comedian than Don Bursick for at least 5 minutes. Until I ran out of Indian jokes. Well, 10 more minutes. Get to the car. Somebody tell me a story. I want to think about food. What's that?
I was thinking of nursery rhyme that I like to eat apples and bananas.
Oh, yeah. Any questions before we quit? Comments, concerns? Yes.
I have a question. That's the community I'm from, the dialects that would native and the phrase becomes
Uh-huh.
and we said, you know, we need something good is in motion.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if that phrase that yes, it is a good day, it's good events are happening.
Sorry, I can't hear that. I think it's loud there. The last couple of words that you said?
I was just wondering if phrase, you know, something like good days in motion. That's
Mnobizo would be you noticing that it's a good day in the moment. That's what's happening. We don't necessarily have that as part of our language. That's something we translated good morning or good day into Ojibwe or a Dawa. They say quite a bit at times in Wiki. But no, here's you got, most of the time, we never thought of saying something like that because we observed the day that the Creator had brought. We had no part in making it a good day, the way that we think in Ojibwe. A lot of times when I hear somebody saying, no, giizhoopizgin, and I say, well, thank you. Meaning that he made it a good day. It could mean that without being, without being insulting. Or a person could be reminding you it's a good day. No, giizhoopizgin. But you got to be able to say it in such a way that you didn't make it a good day. There's a few words that they're used a lot nowadays. The one word that they don't use yet is aninguna. When I started doing this, teaching this language, the elders used to all say that we don't have a word for goodbye, because we don't believe in goodbye. And I grew up in a different way, I guess, that aninguna was one of the most important words in my language. Aninguna was like saying amen. That it's entirely up to him whether we see each other next time here or somewhere else. So I've started to use that word because again, it's used in ceremony, and it allows you to be a part of that ceremony. Yeah, it's a good thing you brought that up. No, giizhoopizgin. Some places they refuse to say that word because it's English translated into Ojibwe. I don't see anything wrong with that. Language usually evolves. We didn't always speak the language the way we're speaking it today. It evolved to what it is today. Okay. So guess if that's it, that's it. Me, you. Giminoyaa.